Welcome to the Project with Sam and Lewis, the podcast that looks at projects throughout pop culture and history. I'm Sam.
And I'm Lewis.
And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about the 6th episode of the Lazarus Project.
Certainly are.
Yeah.
3/4 of the way through now.
Yeah, it feels very kind of like it's getting to that final bit, which
it
is.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a big part of my life over the last couple of months.
And it kind of has, yeah. I thought it was an exciting episode. I'm quite looking forward to talking about it. Yeah, I thought there's some really good moments in there. Yeah. But we do have time codes in the episode description, so if you want to skip straight to that, you can do so. If you want to skip to personal projects, we are going to be talking about House of the Dragon.
We are.
What is it? Episode 2 and 3?
Episode 2 and 3,
and the Amazon's Rings of Power.
Yeah, the first 2 episodes of that. At time of recording, the third episode, at time of release, third episode would come out, but we're recording before that's come out.
That's
so
right. And I think technically Dragon House episode 4 will be out as well.
Oh yeah, technically, yeah.
Hey, most people won't have watched it by the time they listen to this on their morning commute.
Exactly, yeah. I tend to watch it Monday evening, so
Perfect.
I would have listened to this first anyway.
Exactly. But before we get to that, how are you today, Lewis?
Yeah, it's been an odd day.
Yeah, weird day.
Yeah, so today's date of recording is the 8th of September, 2022, which will forever be known as the day the Queen died.
Yes, that's right. The news kind of came in as you're arriving.
Yeah,
didn't it,
as I got here, I saw you had BBC News on, and I was like, "Oh shit, has it happened?"
Yeah.
And then Amy was like,
"It's happened.
The Queen's died." Yeah, a bit weird.
Strange mood. Yeah.
Yeah, she's been our queen for not only all our lives, but all like our like families' lives.
Yeah.
Like
most living people's lives. Is the only monarch they've had in this country anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
It is strange.
I feel like the next kind of week or so is just gonna have an odd feeling about it around the country.
Definitely. Yeah. And I'm sure other people around the world view it in slightly different ways depending on where you're from. But it's kind of it's a bit of a newsworthy thing here for sure.
Yeah, and she was also head of state in Australia and Canada amongst others as well. So I'm sure they'll have similar feelings as well. Though I guess in Australia they'll wake up to the news, won't they? Many Australians.
True. Yeah.
That'd be weird.
It's weird. It was kind of don't need to talk about it too much, but there was news about it was kind of obvious where things were going most of the day, but it's still a bit I didn't really know how I was going to feel about it, and it's just a bit weird, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the word to describe it. It's just like it's just been it's like if suddenly, like, I don't know, Big Ben disappeared. Like a symbol of like very British
apart from
thing.
we kind of knew it was coming for we were kind of prepared for it in some ways.
Yeah. She made it to 96.
She
which
did.
Is a good innings.
It absolutely is. It's a good innings. More better than most of us could hope for.
Oh yeah,
you'd hope so. Really, is one of the like heads of state of one of the
probably had the best healthcare in the world.
Yeah, they were talking about it on the news when we were watching it earlier. They were like, the longest living British monarch and the one that travelled the most. And I was like, well, yeah, because both healthcare and travel kind of revolutionised during her lifetime. But
it's kind of a lot, the fact like how much everything's changed since she became queen. It's like 1952 seems such a different time.
Yeah.
That's a year before Project Moonbase was released.
So now she's the oldest project that we've talked about, the oldest real life one. Project Queen Elizabeth.
Maybe there'll be a film at some point called Project Elizabeth, and we can do that.
But speaking of news, have we got our first segment there?
Oh yes, it has a little jingle that sounds something like this. Project news.
Woo.
So as always, I've googled the word project and picked out a couple of news articles that may be worth talking about.
Yeah, it's funny, we just swiftly moved past that.
Well,
and now we didn't, but
I didn't know how to approach it.
No.
Like, we can't make the entire episode about the Queen.
No. Nor would we want to either, really.
No,
but...
we have plenty of international listeners.
That wasn't an edit point, just for everyone. We did just move straight on to the actual topic of this podcast.
Yeah, it's millions of people are going to be talking about it constantly. You don't need to hear our thoughts.
We don't really have that much else to say.
It is what it is, isn't it? It's the Queen dying.
It is what it
is. It's a significant moment in history.
But enough about the Queen.
Yeah.
What projects have you got?
This is from The Independent.
Ooh.
Donald Trump threatens lawsuit against Fox News over Lincoln Project ad. See you all in court.
Fuck News.
That was what's the
Fuckers?
No, I was gonna say, what's it when you accidentally say something that you actually
like a Freudian slip.
A Freudian slip, yeah.
Fuck you, News.
So there was a ad on Fox News from the Conservative Lincoln Project we've mentioned before because they come up. And it was basically kind of a little like dig at Trump and making him look like a bit of an idiot.
Yeah, because it was like bring the Conservative Party back to its roots and stuff. That was kind of the idea of the project.
And Donald Trump is threatening to sue Fox News. I do feel the whole like Donald Trump turning on Fox News to be a really funny thing because
they made him president.
Essentially they were always like his closest allies, and here he is just like shitting on them. It's like when Fox News goes and all their viewership goes, what will he have left?
It's like burning the last bridge that he had, isn't it?
But it's quite funny. But so there's not too much to say about that. I just thought it was quite funny. That classic Trump move.
He's kind of just thrashing around now, isn't he? Yeah. I didn't really see what happened after he had the like raid and stuff.
Yeah, so I think it's in investigation. They released some stuff highly redacted, but
it was it to try and prove that he colluded with Russia, or was it other things?
I think it's that, but it's also him just having files in his personal thing that is like
state secrets.
Which you're definitely not allowed to do. Which is the whole. For years they're going about Hillary's emails.
Oh yeah,
it's literally that.
The same thing. Which is very ironic, as is this Fox News thing now.
I think the whole thing was like they wouldn't have raided his house if they weren't confident and have like a serious thing.
I remember when it was in the news like last week before, whenever it felt like something's really going to come out of this immediately, like they're going to arrest him or whatever, and nothing's happened as of yet, but I imagine it's leading up to something.
Yeah, probably. The other one, which may come back as future project topic, we'll see in the future. BBC Three announces new music competition, Project Icon, featuring Jason Derulo.
Okay, Jason Derulo.
The new series of Project Icon will air on BBC Three and iPlayer early next year with judges Jason Derulo, Becky Hill, and Frank Harris.
Okay.
So I was like, I wonder if they're doing anything interesting.
Probably, and the answer is no.
The series, which was created by Derulo and Harris, invites 8 aspiring recording artists to compete with each other to see whether they've got what it takes to transform from a bedroom singer to an all-round music star in just a few weeks.
Right.
So I think as opposed to like X Factor, it's not like millions of people like auditioning. I think they may have picked out 8 people and quickly try and train them into a full-blown like pop star.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so it's more like it's like a fast track boot camp kind of situation.
It's basically like the final month of X Factor.
Okay, cool. And I guess they pick people that are like gonna be interesting.
It might be people like who have got like a following on like TikTok or YouTube.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be at least one like TikTok star
like
on there. Like the Sam whatever from
Eurovision. What was his surname? Sam something.
Whitwer? No, Sam Whitwer. Who's that?
No, that is somebody else. But yeah, I think at the end of the series, the winner will receive a US music deal with Jason's label Future History. A collaboration with Jason.
That name, Future History.
A collaboration with Jason Derulo and a live performance at BBC Radio 1's Big Weekend in 2023.
Well,
which is not a bad gig to get. But
do you think we can somehow get tickets to that if we cover it on our podcast?
Oh, maybe if we start sowing the seeds soon.
If we cover every episode of what's it called? The Idol Project?
Project Icon.
Fucking hell. I missed that.
Probably thinking of Pop Idol.
Yeah.
But so we may be finishing the Lazarus Project, but come New Year we may become a Project Icon podcast.
Oh god,
a month and a half.
I mean, we could do a segment on it. I don't think we can do a whole episode. Depending on when it airs, if it works out with our recording and airing schedule, we could definitely include it in some way. I know it will come up in Project News, but
yeah,
maybe we'll do the first episode and see how it is, like we did with Lazarus.
I don't know. It'd be quite funny to do it, follow it week by week.
It depends how long it goes on. I imagine it's like a 6-10 week thing. If
it said 6 weeks.
Oh, it did. Okay, yeah, cool.
So we would only have to do it for like a month and a half.
Yeah, sure. Let's just do that then.
It'd be quite funny. I think it will be like shit, but
I guess we don't have to recap the whole thing either. It would change our format, which might be quite refreshing.
And we might just get invested in nonsense.
We definitely will.
We could.
When does it start? New Year.
Early New Year.
Okay.
We could have some like episode 1 predictions and maybe have some sort of like
a pool thing.
Yeah. and try and
there's
see
a bit of stakes in there. We could halve the thing like a sweepstake.
We could even get everyone that's ever guested to pick a person.
If it works out, yeah.
I can't remember how many guests we've had, but we've had like 4 or 5.
How many did it say? Contestants?
8, I think.
8 contestants. Yeah. Could potentially. Or we could just split the pool half and half, and then we've got equal stakes in it, and then we're both like. And the way it just ends. It ends with both of them, like you've got the 2 people in the finale, and it's just like cool.
Cool, yeah. But yeah, so that is our that's our project planning for early next year.
Yeah, bingo.
Project Icon with Jason Derulo.
That was a good one.
Yeah. But that is our project news for the week. As I was going to say as always, but we've only done this once before. If you listeners come across any good project news, send them in.
Please do.
And we may read the email and use it.
Or we might accidentally read your project news without reading your email. And if so, we won't give you credit because we didn't read it from your email.
No.
I haven't actually checked the Gmail in a while. So
that's what I was going to hesitate. Maybe we've got a load of articles that have been sent in.
I don't think I'm signed in. But if you do want to send us an email, we'll do this early on. It's the projectpod@gmail.com. You can reach us there with pretty much anything, really.
Well,
just trying to remember what the password is without saying it.
Don't send us copies of the documents that Donald Trump stole, because then we might get done.
Oh no, do, and then we can be like the new Edward Snowden. We can was it Edward Snowden?
Yeah.
Also, Julian Casablancas.
Julian Casablancas. Yeah, let's be like Julian Casablancas.
What's the fucking guy called?
Julian Assange.
Yeah, Julian Casablancas, yeah. You know he was going out with Pamela Anderson? Julian Assange.
What?
Yeah, when he was in the what's it called? He was at the embassy like last year, and Pamela Anderson was coming and bringing him like takeaway.
That's weird.
It's very strange, yeah. I might be not 100% right about who it was, but I'm pretty sure it was Pamela Anderson.
It turns out to be.
Yeah, it was Pamela Anderson. Yeah.
Woman.
Friendship, apparently. Okay, yeah. There was. Oh no, yeah. She previously said that. Oh no, don't worry. She's grown close with him in 2019. So.
How close? Oh.
Lewis is doing a very lewd gesture above his microphone there.
I certainly
It's a thumbs up of friendship. I think that's very lewd. thumbs up some friendship. No, we don't have any new emails that are related to what we just spoke about anyway.
Okay, cool.
We've got some, but I don't really care about you, so
we'll read them at some point.
Yeah, we'll read them at some point. They're not relevant to this conversation.
Yeah. So shall we go into the Lazzy Proj?
Lazzy Proj 6 or Laz 6 as my my notes say.
Mine say the Lazarus Project, episode 6.
I regretted to what'd you say? I didn't put a subtitle last time. So I had George Breaks Bad, which I was very proud of because it was very accurate. And I forgot one last time.
We didn't have one.
This time I
thought of one for this one. But I can't remember it.
Mine was based on one particular scene, and it's not very good, but it's George Goes Wild. Because there was one part towards the end that
I know exactly.
That I was just thinking about like for so long afterwards. And there was the final scene of this episode I thought was really, really, like, final few scenes are really well done, but despite that, there was a part a little bit earlier that I kept thinking about. To this episode, would you need to go into any background stuff?
Quickly.
Yeah.
Created by Joe Barton, starring Papa Rasili, Tom Burke, Angeli Mahidra, Caroline Quinton, Charlie Clive, Lorne MacDonald, Vinette Robinson, and Brian Gleason. What rating do you think this episode got on IMDb?
I'm gonna say like 8.3.
8.3.
I don't know. I'm just going straight.
That's high.
I know, I just went straight in. I didn't really think about it.
It's 7.0.
What? No way. I didn't know that. I just don't know why I said that.
Yeah, which is higher than last week. But the last two episodes are higher, so it's building up and up.
Yeah, I remember you saying the finale was really highly rated, but I don't think you told me what it was, or maybe you did, but I've forgotten. So, but yeah, it's building.
It's building. This episode starts with driving through a field at night. But before we talk about that, Sam,
oh god,
what has happened
you know what?
far?
Weirdly enough, my first bit on here is recap, because there was a recap at the start of this.
And I wrote that and I was like, it's a good job I wrote that. So remind me to ask Sam to recap the series so far.
I've had a bit more practice with this now, so hopefully it's a bit more coherent. George is a software development. Oh, fuck's sake, I fucked it up straight. He's a software development. He's an app developer, and he has a beautiful, lovely girlfriend called Sarah. And he lives through the 6 months and has a very nice 6 months. Gets married, his girlfriend gets pregnant, and things start going wrong. It flashes back, and he's like, "What the hell?" It's like Groundhog Day situation. He then has a shit 6 months. It flashes back again. He gets approached by a government agency or semi-government agency called the Lazarus Project. And this woman called Archie approaches him. She's one of the agents. She recruits him. And his first mission is to do with an ex-agent called Rebrov, who we find out later is called Dennis, which is a much less threatening name than Rebrov.
He sounds even less Russian than Dennis Rebrov when he opens his mouth. He's kind of just
got like a Midlands English accent, which is quite funny when we first heard it. He is dedicated to destroying the Lazarus Project because he believes that they shouldn't keep resetting time and they should just let the Earth die. Because, as I didn't mention, the Lazarus Project's aim is to stop extinction level events. So if we get near nuclear war, they can reset to the 1st of July, assuming the 1st of July hasn't passed. It's like a checkpoint thing, basically.
Yep.
And they're full of agents that have got all sorts of kind of skills. They're from MI5, MI6, MI7, MI8, all those kind of good ones there. And the first mission, Rebrov has stolen a nuclear bomb called Big Boy.
Yep.
And they solve it, and it's all good. And then Sarah... he's walking Sarah to work, and he's walking Sarah anyway, point being, Sarah gets hit by a truck, but they are not looking to reset time because they have completed their mission and they've got Rebrov. And George is like, right, Rebrov, how can we fuck shit up so that I can reset time? He breaks bad, goes on a whole rampage in terms of like finding the bomb. He eventually finds it at the end of the last episode, and he meets up with this caretaker guy who's like, hey, give me some money for the bomb, because the group the Red Rob was working with, he pretends to be part of them, even though they're a white supremacist group, and George is not a white man, so it's quite a funny little joke there. And there was this guy called Shiv who was friends with George. He was like one of the better agents. There was like this cool bit where he was like chasing him around Romania, and then they get to a point where George shoots him, and we're like, oh shit, George is broken bad. He is lying to his teammates about why he's in Romania. He's like done this little sneaky plan where he's made Shiv look like he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And this episode ends where George is with the bomb and the caretaker. They're driving in this big missile truck, and there are some headlights approaching in the distance, and it's dark. That's why we can see the headlights.
Yeah.
And there's probably some other bits, but I think that is most of the stuff that is important. What do you reckon?
To be entirely honest, I kind of zoned out.
No, I saw you were on your phone. Right. Let's just say that was very accurate. And good.
Spot on. If you want to know in further detail, we have done 5 other episodes.
We have
on those first 5 episodes, so give them a listen.
5 on each. We're really in depth. Yeah.
But I would say it's been a highly entertaining series so far.
Yeah.
We've had fun covering it. So if this is the first episode you've listened to, it sounds like your kind of thing. Go back to episode 1 and listen through with us.
The kind of the thing I didn't really emphasize there is that George is trying to blow up this nuclear bomb in an area where it will cause disturbance, and the Lazarus Project will be forced to turn back time, and in doing so, his girlfriend Sarah will be revived on the 1st of July.
Yeah,
and he's kind of doesn't really know what he's doing because he's only been an agent for like maybe 6 months at the most. With a bit of resetting going on there.
What is it that he wants the Lazarus Project to do?
Is it he wants them to turn back time?
Oh, yeah, that was it. Thank you.
Or, there's another song that kind of is used in that way towards the end of this episode, isn't there?
Is there?
We'll get to it.
Maybe I remember.
We'll get to it.
I watched this like quite late last night.
You messaged me at like 11:30. You're like, finish watching it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
I was out all evening.
Out?
Yeah. We'll get to that. Impersonal projects.
Okay. Nice.
Now that I've said it, I have to remember.
Okay, put that in your notes quickly. So my first bit here is that the music they use is quite good. There's a kind of theme. There's one theme, and it's kind of just a bit of an atmospheric
How
music.
does it go?
I can't remember at all. It's just like like that. And there's no flashback, or at least that's what you think. There's no flashback at the start, and we see the car headlights, and there's a car following from quite a close distance, the missile truck.
Full lights on,
and George and the caretaker, who is called Rudy, is that right?
Rudy, yeah.
They're in the truck, and George has a couple of missed calls, which I think are from Archie.
Yeah, he gets another call, and he doesn't answer it.
Yeah, and Rudy's like, who's calling you? And he's like, oh, it's my work. And he's like, you've got a job? And then he's like, yeah, terrorism's my side hustle.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, like, in the last episode, it was very clear, like, even that white supremacist thing, it's very clear that Rudy's like, he's not stupid. He's either playing along with it or he just wants to get the money.
Yeah.
And this is more of that kind of thing. Like, George is so transparently not the white supremacist terrorist member that he's pretending to be, and he's not even really pretending at this point, is he?
No, Rudy's just kind of going.
He's just going along with it, and Rudy starts talking about Lazarus, doesn't he?
Rudy asks what happened to the rest of the Lost Glory.
Yeah,
and then George is like, ever heard of the Lazarus Project?
Yeah, I kind of missed this bit because I was making notes at the same time, but Is it? But I think Rudy's like, yeah, I've heard of them. Like, you never hear them coming and stuff.
They take people out in
and obviously
silence.
the reason that is because they reset and just come for you without any kind of prior knowledge.
But then George is like, it's not like there's any Lazarus agents here. Ha 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 ha.
And they're both like laughing. Also, I realised slightly later on, did you recognise the actor that Rudy is?
No.
Because he is, in Stranger Things, season 3, the Russian guy who goes around in the car with them for ages, who Hopper's calling Smirnoff, and he wants to slushies.
Oh, yeah.
It's him.
No.
Yeah, it's him. Yeah.
Really? He looks nothing like him.
He looks like him just without glasses.
Oh.
And like with different hair. But yeah, it's him, and he's a British actor, so that's why he's got quite a British accent in this.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I didn't get his name, and I will find it while we kind of carry on here.
So they say, this is a bit of a revelation.
Yeah.
Rudy says they're going to cross into Ruthenia in 45 minutes.
Yes. So I wrote Athena, and I was like, that's not right. And this is because we had this whole conversation last episode.
Well, where are they going?
Because it was across the border from Romania.
But it sounded like they were saying
Ljubljana, which I can now say.
Congratulations.
Listen to the end of the last episode. But also this guy is called Alec Utkov.
Utkov. That sounds like a Russian surname.
Yeah, British Ukrainian. So...
Oh, there we go.
I wouldn't be surprised. We talked about this last episode.
If it was
Ukraine and they edited it in post and just did a voiceover with a fake country because
so Ruthenia, and then they say you cross into Ruthenia in 45 minutes.
45 minutes, yeah.
And Chernobyl is a 2-hour drive. Now, Chernobyl sounds like a Ukrainian city, like
Chernobyl.
Or like Mariupol.
Mariupol, yeah.
It's like a combination of like a Ukrainian city.
Yeah. So I think that's probably what it was. Or maybe they knew the whole time that it was just a bit dodgy to be mentioning it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff with Russia in this as it go on through the episode.
Yeah.
I guess Russia are kind of...
there is, actually.
some pretty intense stuff with...
with the old Ruskies.
Yeah.
It's fun. I'm pretty sure Spotify is banned in Russia these days, so...
I mean, we had a big burst of listeners from Project Blueberg in Russia.
We did. Oh, fuck's sake, Putin. You cost us listeners.
Is it banned? Did you see that Ben Stiller was banned from Russia?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. But anyway, George is like, you're making this up as we go along, aren't you? And Rudy's like, yeah. And then we see who's in the car behind them, and we were like, oh, maybe it's Archie.
Maybe it was
Wes.
It was Ryan's wife and child.
Yes, we have a revelation about them as well this episode. But it's just these like four guys,
baldies
that we don't recognize, and they look menacing.
Yeah, they look English as well, and Russian, and just.
They look like the sort of people that
like the son of a bitch.
They look like the sort of people that would be like extras in a film about like football hooliganism, Green Street or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what they look like. Like a load of Ross Kemps.
A bunch of Ross Kemps. Or Ross Kempskis.
We haven't had any Russian listens in a while, so yeah. We had a handful, back at the start of the
Maybe
pod,
we said something. Back during our Stranger Things episode.
Did, yeah.
Guys, it was satire.
They've gone now.
Unless you agree with us, in which case it's what we really thought.
I'm pretty sure we've been quite anti-monarchist on this podcast. I've just realised.
Nah.
That was satire, though, unless...
We have been openly like, fuck Putin.
I think we talked about... Yeah, it doesn't matter. I think we talked about the Meghan Markle situation, and I stand by that.
Yeah,
like I'm not gonna err on the side of like other people's opinions. Like
maybe today's not the day to talk about it.
No, I mean it was
and I can see your little queen on your shelf there watching over us.
She is. She's literally looking right at me.
Yeah,
I had to get my little bobblehead out this morning.
No. Anyway, we then get a little flashback.
This is what I say. So there is a flashback.
Little
a little 48 hours earlier flashback.
Oh, was it 48 hours? I thought it was 24.
I think it said 48.
Sure. I think at this point I was eating for some food, so...
What, 11 o'clock at night?
I'd been out.
Okay. Balaclavas. These guys. So last episode we were like, George is terrible at secretly approaching this farmhouse.
Yeah.
These guys know what they're doing. There's like 4 or 5 guys. 5 guys actually, isn't it? Again, burgers. 5 guys.
God, they really love. We need to make.
I don't know what the last
deal.
one was, but
it was Project Moonbase, I think.
Oh, there was 5 guys.
Yeah.
Oh, in the room. Yeah. You know, there's a story about this. There's a story about Michael Jordan, and I've never watched.
I would love to know where this is going.
There's a story about him where it was before. So I'm not a basketball fan, as you'll be able to tell from what I'm about to say. It's before one of his big games where I assume he was playing for the Chicago Bulls,
and he was going to shoot some hoops.
He's going to shoot some big old hoops. Well, they were normal sized hoops, but it'd be easier if they were big hoops. Wouldn't it?
Yeah, why don't they just make the hoops bigger? It'd be so much easier to score.
And lower.
Yeah. Fucking hell. Sort it out,
And you can
NBA.
use your feet as well. And they're square and they're the other way around. Yeah, he was about to do one big game. It was the night before. And he ordered some pizza. And when he opened the door, there was 5 guys there standing there with the pizza.
What?
At the hotel room. And
was it 5 guys or was it pizza?
It was pizza, because I don't think 5 guys existed yet. But I'm sure that's where 5 guys came from. No, but then there was something where I think he didn't eat the pizza, and then like the pizza gave his like friend food poisoning or something. Oh. And I think there was like a bit of a conspiracy theory that it was to try and stop him from doing well. Also, I don't know if he would have eaten pizza before like a big game.
Well, Usain Bolt had loads of like chicken nuggets before.
Did he?
Yeah, he'd say like on the morning of like the like Olympic final,
right?
He'd have like 24 chicken nuggets for breakfast.
I guess some people are just built different, aren't they? Like literally, like just
like it's probably Usain Bolt and Michael Jordan.
Wasn't Usain Bolt? It was like he just broke the records of what people just thought you could actually achieve. Like scientists were like, "There's no way that someone can run." I saw a thing that's
something like the top 10 fastest 100-meter speeds runs of all time has 7 people who've since been banned for drugs, really? And the other 3 are all Usain Bolt.
Who has not yet been banned for using drugs.
But I think they probably tested him extensively.
I'm sure they did, yeah.
Anyway, we got these masked guys.
5 guys.
5 guys who are at the farm that we saw last episode where the caretaker was.
That's right.
And they find
the caretaker.
But it's
a different caretaker.
I was like, who's this?
You're like,
what's going on? I hope they explain this.
And they pull off their masks, and we see that Rudy is one of these guys. Yeah, he's the 5th guy.
He's the 5th guy. He's not a caretaker at all.
No, my note literally says sneaky boys.
Sneaky boys. They are sneaky boys. But they want to know where the bomb is. And the actual caretaker's like, yeah, it's all good and well having the bomb.
Yeah,
like it's probably in that big barn, the one place I could fit a nuke.
I think it was further away. They had to like drive there.
All right. It was a joke. But he's also like, the bomb won't work with a detonator anyway. So like, what's even the point? And they can't sell a useless bomb that doesn't have a detonator.
Surely you could just like, oh no, they're. I was gonna say you could just shoot it, but that's like video games.
Yeah. But they know that the Lost Glory is on the way.
I've written LG, and I couldn't remember what that stood for. So thank you.
It's the phone network.
Liam Gallagher.
Yeah, the phone network. Liam Gallagher. Lost Glory are on their way with the detonator. So like, okay, and they're like, Rudy, why don't you've always wanted to be a caretaker.
Yeah, Alexei from Stranger Things, why don't you just stand there for a bit? And then we go back to the present day
with Rudy and George in the lorry.
And George is being as useless and terrible as always. And the detonator comes up in conversation. He just gets it out.
Well, no, Rudy asked to see it.
Yeah, but it comes up in conversation. He gets it out.
Yeah, and George is like,
the plan with the Baldies and Rudy was when you see the detonator, give us a signal.
Yeah.
And then I think he says something like,
we'll take him out.
That's the next bit. They say like, we can incapacitate or torture him, but we need him alive so that we can get him to, Oh no, it's because he now explains that it's like, it's got like a code and like it's all like locked to just him or something.
There's loads of technicalities and like you have to put in a digit code
did Janet write this all on a little note?
Or maybe he set it like it had factory settings.
0000. He changed it to Sarah's PIN number.
But yeah, they tell Rudy to follow plan, and the plan is they'll jump and Rudy can save George, get a bit of trust,
right,
and then
I missed that somehow. Yeah,
guide him or take the bomb or something.
Yeah,
is the plan.
But so Rudy's got an earpiece in the far ear from George, and they're talking to him, and we kind of zoom past him, and it's like George can hear that there's someone talking in his ear,
but I'm not sure he can.
I think it's just George is giving him the side eye because he's like aware that something's going on.
Here, take my side eye.
That was both of us doing side eyes in different directions. I think.
Sure.
There's a border sign that's in French. So
is there?
Yeah, I don't know what it says because I don't speak French, but it I can't remember what it said. But I wrote French border sign.
Okay, I must have missed that. We get a quick flash of Archie at Lazarus.
Woo!
And she's calling George and he's not answering.
Yeah,
and then we're straight back with Rudy and George.
Yeah.
And Rudy's like, why are you trying to blow this bomb up?
Why blow
bomb?
Why blow bomb?
Hey pal, why are you trying to blow this bomb up?
My good friend George.
And George is like, we're the Lost Glory. We're trying to cause chaos.
Yeah. And they get like deep, and George is like, do you think that one small thing can make the world a better place? And Rudy's like, I don't know, man. I only met you half an hour ago.
Trying to save something. He's also like, he's like, love is a nuclear bomb. And we get a clip from the car behind. One of them goes, yeah, it is. Because I listened to every other radio.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, no.
It's quite funny, but it's also very like...
Yeah, it's very...
I mean, the thing is, George probably hasn't slept in like 3 days.
Yeah.
He's like been in a car chase. He's just like, he doesn't care at this point, does he?
Yeah, we do get the time. He looks at his phone a second and it says 23:09. For our American listeners out there, that's 11:10 in the evening.
Well, it's 11:09 in the evening.
Oh, yeah, but round it. And it's the 9th of July, so it is literally.
Oh yeah, okay.
Just into.
Oh, I didn't see that.
This checkpoint, because we were trying to figure out how long it had been.
So it's 1st of July is the checkpoint.
Yeah,
so it's midnight. Going
8 days from the checkpoint.
Well, it makes sense because it's all moved very quickly.
Yeah, it has. But yeah, George saying to Rudy he wants things to go back, and he's like, things can't go back. He's like, you'd be surprised. Because I'm a member of Lazarus. He doesn't say that, but he's pretty much saying that.
He like asks the guy about his opinion about love that we said, and he's like, I don't know, don't ask me, I'm just an arms dealer. And it's like, we know you're not an arms dealer, though, are you?
Yeah.
So what? They're another different terrorist organization.
Yeah, we don't know who
we
they
don't
are.
really find out, do we?
But then out of nowhere, the lorry breaks down.
Yeah. And it's not a ruse, is it?
It's not a ruse.
Because we think it is later, potentially, and it is actually broken. So
yeah, it is broken.
It's very convenient.
But then Rudy puts his hazards on.
Yeah.
Which, the guys behind him then like, oh.
And we see a clip where both George and Rudy look in the wing mirrors and both see that there's somebody very close behind them.
Yeah.
And George says something like, about like fixing the car. He's like, maybe we should ask those boys that have been tailing us for a while.
Yeah. And then Rudy's kind of like, I think George has clocked on that Rudy's with them, but then Rudy kind of clocks on that George knows. So George punches Rudy.
Yeah, they start a bit of a front seat fight.
And he slams his head against the horn.
Yes.
And then we see the car from behind can hear.
Yeah. It's a little bit less than that, but yeah, pretty much.
I thought you were going to stop me.
No. They're just waiting, like I was, just there. They're going, huh, is this the signal? Like, what's going on?
They are.
And they kind of, I think they get out of the car. No, they don't get out. They're like, Rudy.
One of them gets out to have a look, the driver.
Yeah.
But then George jumps out and shoots the guy in the front passenger seat.
Yeah.
Right in the head.
Yeah,
because George is a great shot now.
He did do like a load of practice,
He did.
but yeah. Because also, I think he was training for a year, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Because
he was training. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, yeah, he's inexperienced in the field stuff, but he has done training.
Yeah. And there's kind of a bit of a shootout.
Yeah,
I think he shoots a couple of them down.
I think so. If we say there's 4, because I'm pretty sure all the passengers.
Wasn't there 5 guys? Oh,
there was 5 guys with
Rudy's
Rudy.
The 5th guy. Yeah.
Maybe there was 6 guys with Rudy, and there was 5 guys in the car.
Okay.
But either way, there's quite a few. 1.1 guy's got like a machine gun or shotgun or something. The rest of them have got pistols.
Yeah.
And George is doing pretty well. He's like in cover, he's going around.
And it kind of dies down a bit.
It goes down to like, I think 2 guys left.
Yeah.
Plus Rudy, who we can't see in the front seat.
But then Rudy sits up and shoots George.
So
in, like,
he
the
does
shoulder.
have a gun, which he must have just snuck out at some point.
Or just kept with him the whole time.
Yeah, he shoots George in the shoulder. George falls and crawls under the lorry.
Yeah. And they're like, Rudy gets out and he's like, "You're trapped."
Yeah, he's like you can't go anywhere, just give up, kind of thing.
And unfortunate timing, another car like pulls up behind them,
like playing music really loudly.
Yeah, and they kind of start hooting.
Yeah,
hooting.
And the guy, one of the other guys, the baldy guys, just like shoots at the car.
Yeah,
and I think kills the person.
And he
goes forward,
drives forward into the back of their car.
I think, does that hit the guy? No,
I think it hits one of them.
Yeah, so there's 2 more guys. So one guy gets like pinned.
Yeah, but this gives George the opportunity to move.
Yeah,
and he shoots Rudy.
He shoots Rudy in like the throat, I think it is, or like somewhere vital.
And I think.
And then the guy goes to look for him under. So someone goes to look for him under the van, and
it's the last remaining guy.
And he drops down from like the seat or whatever and shoots him.
Yeah.
So he's taken them all out.
And then George is like, "Why is this so fucking difficult?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "You're trying to blow up a city with a nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
If it was easy, people would do it all the time."
That's true. But you do kind of feel for him. Like, he's just like, fuck's sake. He's almost like, why am I doing this? But also like, I didn't realize it was going to be so different. He is being stupid, but also it's like, oh.
And you see Rudy kind of like laying on the floor, like coughing his guts
gurgling away.
And George does feel a bit sorry for him.
Yeah, he puts him out of his misery, doesn't he?
That's exactly what I wrote.
Yeah.
And then he gets back in the lorry.
Yeah, and this is when we're like, right, he's going to be able to drive it off. And obviously the bomb is massive and it's on the back of this lorry, so he can't move it. And he's just like, fuck's sake. And then we see him like playing around with the detonator, and we see some blue lights go on the bomb.
Yeah, so he's activating
the bomb, and you're like, what the fuck? He gets in one of the other cars.
Yeah, and drives off.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then as he's driving off, he calls Archie. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, he pulled a gun on me.
Yeah, and he starts spilling this lie about Shiv shooting him in the shoulder, doesn't he?
And she's like, I tried to stop him, but I couldn't. He's put the code into the bomb. Oh no, he puts the code into the bomb.
Yeah, no, he hangs up in the middle of the conversation as if he's like in the middle of something, and then he gets to like what I guess he knows is the range, because he has been talking to this guy about it and stuff.
Yeah.
He drives out far enough, and as he like parks up and starts doing setting the detonator, like he sees like a family just drive past,
and
all like, I think they're all like waving at him out the window.
And he's like, whoop. But then he finally
blows the fucking bomb.
He detonates the bomb.
Yeah. And he stares directly into the explosion, which is just rule number 1.
And also, like, it's a nuclear bomb.
Even if the radiation and the blast don't kill you, he's got to be a bit further away than that, really.
George is a bit of an idiot, though.
He is, yeah.
But then we cut to Lazarus, and they can see that the bomb's gone off.
Yeah, they've got like satellite stuff that's like nuclear explosion detected. And where's the leader of Lazarus is like, find out if George or Shiv are still alive and get them back here ASAP.
Yeah. Archie calls George and he says, yeah, it went off. I'm driving away from it right now.
Yeah. And she's like, you've got a lot of questions to answer when you get back.
But they've booked him on, like, they've cancelled all flights.
Yeah.
In wherever they are.
Romania, yeah.
Yeah.
If he's still in Romania, yeah. I don't know.
But they've booked him a place on the last private flight to London.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've fucked up. And she's like, just come home.
Yeah. But it's the kind of like,
he's playing the sympathy card.
And you kind of get the impression that she doesn't really want to like trust him still as well.
Yeah.
Because the fact is,
and she doesn't want to give away. She's not sure.
That's it. Yeah. She's being like nice, but kind of through gritted teeth almost. Yeah. It's like, because he just went to Romania without telling anyone. Yeah. And then suddenly said he was in a car chase with Shiv. And it's like, that's dodgy.
Yeah.
Like, that's super. And no one knows him. No one trusts him. Like, as has come up a few times, really.
Yeah.
He gets to the airport. We find out his surname is Addo, which I know you said before.
Which it wasn't in that previous episode, I'm sure. I'm sure it was like a long...
Maybe he changed his name for Lazarus, maybe.
Yeah.
Like a shortened version. But the person's like, oh yeah, you're on the list. Blah, blah, blah.
At first she's like, there's no planes running. He's like, no. Who the fuck do you think? I'm George Addo.
And he's got like a shot shoulder, but he's like kind of covering up like by like turning away a little bit. He goes through to the bit, doesn't he? And there's these cool looking guys
who clearly like in a band or something,
and they're American, and they're like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, I'm going with you," or whatever, and they're like, "You're not a narc, are you, bro?"
Yeah, and he's like, "Nah." Nah. And they're like, oh, this is gonna be like Ragnarok. Oh, they see the news
later on. Yeah. Then it goes to the plane, and they're playing like Chemical Brothers, and it's like there's like it's a private plane, and there's like the band plus like a load of other people, like loads of like girls groupies there. And they're watching it on the TV, and this guy who's like supposed to be like fucked, like leans over and is like, "It's the end of the world, man. The whole system's coming down. Ragnarok."
That was it.
Yeah, and it's all very silly. It's quite funny, but it's completely different from what we had a party scene in that flashback in 2018, and there was a party stuff going on. His friend was like smoking a joint, but this is like a whole different kettle of fish to what we've seen.
Yeah. So funny. At this point, I paused the stream I was watching. Yeah. So I need to go to the toilet, and as my shoulder's still bad, and I was like, I'll take some of my tablets because I was like, I'm gonna go to bed after this.
Yeah.
So I had a couple of paracetamols and a couple of codeine, and then pressed play.
Okay, and then George goes, I imagine trying to find a place to sort his shoulder out.
Yeah.
He goes into like a back room bit, and he walks in on a guy from the band and a girl like doing lines of, I guess, cocaine or something. Sort of white powder anyway.
Yeah.
And the guy says to him, like, he goes back like, oh, sorry. And the guy's like, no, it's all right. He says, hey, man, do you want some drugs?
And he's kind of like,
George is like, go on then. And then they just leave him with just this like plate of cocaine.
Yeah.
And they go out, and then, he sorts
his shoulder out. He pours like alcohol on it.
Yeah, he does like a rudimentary kind of bandage
and then
thing.
Takes a pill.
Well, there's just like loads of pills next to the lines of drugs, and he's like, he take one and goes, please be codeine.
Yeah, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I've just taken some codeine.
That's very fun. The reason I kept so basically then he walks back into the party bit, and I wasn't sure whether they were going to go down the route of like he's taken like an ecstasy pill and he just goes. But there's Chase's status playing, and he just like falls asleep. But before we get into the next bit, the way that everyone was talking about everything in that scene just felt so just like silly to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Yeah. It's just like, hey man, do you want some drugs? But like in like a American accent.
Hey man, do you want some drugs?
It's like just I don't know. I guess they're trying to be like generic, but it just stuck with me because it was just so like it. I've spoken in earlier episodes about how some of the writing's not always, it doesn't always sit well with me. And that was another one of those bits. And it's like,
it was quite funny.
It just made me think like, this person who's wrote this has never had any contact with drugs in their life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he drifts off into sleep and wakes up seemingly with Sarah standing above his bed.
Yeah.
And did you think that it had reset at this point?
Nope.
I didn't think that, and then I thought, because she goes, "Oh, you were talking in your sleep," like she as if she's woken him up, and he's and I was like, "Oh, what has it happened?" And then, but that's more like the first reset, isn't it? Whereas the actual reset we're looking at, the checkpoint, is when they were having sex at midnight. So,
but yeah, during this, as she's talking to him, a bomb goes off outside the window.
You can see it, and you can kind of see that they're like in like the countryside, but they're in their London flat kind of thing.
Yeah,
or like,
and she's like not reacting to this bomb at all, even though it's like shaking the room.
Yeah.
But she's like speak up, like I can't hear you.
He's like, I need to tell you something, but I can't remember what it is.
Yeah. And then the explosion like destroys the flat.
Goes through. And he wakes up and it's like, you've just landed in London.
Yeah.
You just landed in London.
You just landed in London, mate.
Hello, chap.
See, we don't just laugh at American accents.
Hello there, chap. You've just landed in bloody old London, ain't
All right,
you?
governor. Can I sweep your chimney?
Long live the king.
Oh god.
Anyway, as he's leaving the plane, his Ragnarok friend comes up to him and says, "Remember, the whole fucking system's coming down, dude." Like, of course, if we didn't have enough of those terrible bad characters there.
So we're at Lazarus, and Wes is briefing the team that Shiv may be involved with this explosion.
Yeah, and she's like, "We've got intel," and then someone says, "Where's it from?" And she's like, "We're not ready to say that yet because it's from Rebrov, who is in captivity in the basement of Lazarus."
Yeah. And from George, who they're a bit suspicious of anyway.
Yes, that's right, yeah. So they can't verify it, basically.
But Wes does say, fortunately, the body count is fairly low.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a few hundred.
But at this point, they don't say a few hundred.
Okay.
But she says, like, mostly countryside, a few suburbs. And it's like, it's not nothing, is it?
But it could have been considerably worse.
Yeah.
But it is kind of the point, like, this bomb shouldn't have been set off in the countryside if that's what it's meant to be.
But it's kind of annoyingly for George in the middle, like in the middle of nowhere, but also it's the whole question from this point on is, has it been enough to do what he wanted?
Yes,
basically?
exactly.
Which is more interesting than it just going in the place he wanted, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like this episode, like we've said throughout the series, that it's been quite hard to predict what happens next.
Yeah.
This episode's full of like twists
from this point on, like I was genuinely like, I felt really nervous. A lot of this
because we're like, shit, George has set off the bomb.
Yeah,
but it wasn't where we expected it to be, and we don't know the full results of it yet.
Because he was just hoping, because if it reset, then all evidence is gone.
Yeah,
because time has gone back and there's memories still there, so he still would have been fucked from Shiv, because Shiv said before he died, "I'm gonna come get you" afterwards. But like evidence, physical, digital, whatever evidence would have been gone. So they couldn't tie him to the detonation anyway. But now he's done it, and it's just that, the guilty,
it's the waiting game
thing.
as well.
And he walks in and he looks guilty and he looks awkward, but obviously he has done something wrong anyway by going to Romania.
And also, like, he's just experienced a traumatic thing and stuff. So.
And he's probably on some sort of drugs as well.
But he sees Archie.
Yeah, I feel like she kind of clocks that there's a weird vibe, right? Yeah. Like it's very...
But she dresses the wound.
Yeah, into the toilets.
Wes comes in. They're in like a
Yeah.
changing room.
I think it is the toilets because there's the cubicles are all behind them.
Okay. And Wes is like, what happened?
Yeah, she's like, just tell me, like, give me a rundown
And
right now.
he does the really good thing of like dripping the lie with some truths to make it believable. Because he says that he cracked the code, called, and Archie's like, why didn't you talk to anyone? He's like, I tried calling you, but Shiv answered.
Which is true.
And Shiv said he'd look into it.
Yeah.
But George wanted to find the bomb himself because he wanted to prove himself.
And she's like, what are you, 10? Like,
yeah, because he was like, I wanted to show everyone. But he's like, I got in over my head.
And they're like, yeah, fucking right you did.
And
yeah.
They said Shiv tailed him from London. And I said last week, as soon as they know that George went first, that's evidence that... But he spun that and said Shiv followed him because Shiv's the bad guy.
Yeah.
And then he says Shiv drew a gun, but then he lost Shiv somewhere.
Yeah, there's a lot of this bit where he's like, we had a bit of a shootout. I chased him. Oh, and then he turned up again here.
Yeah.
And it's kind of... I felt like it was really transparent that he was lying in that second half there. But I think they're not that sure still. Like,
and it's a bit like loads of stuff is going on, so it's understandable if he's not really sure about the details.
But Wes is like, so are we supposed to believe that he just turned up and started shooting at you and there wasn't any conversation? And he's like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's what happened.
He's like, he didn't stop to chat.
But they're all like, Wes has known Shiv since she was a teenager, she says later. And she's known George for a year. So it's like, they're finding it very hard to like swallow this potential truth.
Before the end, he's like, there's something else.
Yes.
And he's like, Shiv's been sending money to Janet.
Yes, which is Rebrov's ex-partner.
Yeah, which is kind of like
still kind
his
of
like final evidence of like, look, it's clearly Shiv.
Yeah. And he's downloaded stuff from Shiv's phone onto his phone, which he doesn't explain how he got that, but
we saw it when he was in the car.
No, but he doesn't explain to them how he got it because he's only got it because he killed
Wes is like, I'm going to check for your phone.
Yeah, she says, own up to anything now because it will help your case. Otherwise, we'll find it, basically.
Yeah, and he's like, I've got nothing to hide. And George asks then how many people got killed.
Yeah.
And Archie says a couple of hundred.
Yeah, that's that bit there.
And it's like, oh, fucking hell, George has nailed that. Like, he really has.
Yeah.
Like, he's told the truth but twisted it to make himself the good guy.
Yeah.
Like the sequence of events.
It's very clever. Yeah.
Which isn't something I often say about George.
I guess he had the whole time on the way back to think about it, didn't he?
Well, he was sleeping and snorting coke.
Yeah, we missed the bit where he snorted all the coke. That's why he had such weird dreams. That's how it works, right?
Probably is why he had a weird dream, though, isn't it?
Because he took codeine and fell asleep straight away.
I mean, I do that most nights, but...
How are your dreams?
Joe, what? Here's a funny story. Yesterday, we were having a conversation at work about European capitals.
Right.
And I was like, I'm pretty good at European capitals. I could name like 40 in like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah.
But there was a few that I like couldn't remember. And I was like, what the fuck is the capital of Montenegro? Like, I just couldn't think of it.
Yeah.
I woke up this morning and immediately went, Podgorica. It's literally my first thought when I woke up this morning was Podgorica.
I thought you were going to say you named them all and everyone clapped and then you woke up and it was a codeine-induced dream.
No, not quite. But I was like, that is one of the weirdest ways I've ever woke up. Just woke up with naming the capital of Montenegro.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known that, and I don't remember what you said. So,
don't worry, Ljubljana was on the list already.
Nice.
So Wes is...
Oh no, there's a bit where Archie's like, "Oh, we're checking out Russian intel." Oh, they're basically, this is when George asked about the 100, how many people died. She says they're keeping an eye on certain Russian military movements, and they know from their experience with resetting before what it looks like when Russia are about to start a war.
Yeah,
and they haven't yet seen the signs, but she's like, it doesn't look like they're moving against us. She's like, I hope they aren't. And we see George and he's almost like, I fucking hope they are. Yeah, and then we see Wes doing a bit of bonsai trimming in her office. You're looking at me very blankly.
Yeah.
She's in her office and the blonde woman called Greta comes up to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I wrote any of that down.
Yeah, she's in the office and the blonde woman who we find out is called Greta is like, oh, I've downloaded Ryan and Shiv's devices.
Oh, yeah.
And Wes is like, oh yeah, speaking of which, I need to notify Ryan's next of kin. She's like, I told Rebrov that he had a wife and child, but I don't actually know anything about him.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, she's a fucking cold hard bitch.
Classic Wes though, isn't
It's great because it shows both that she was just manipulating Rebrov to try and like get at him because wife and child is kind of something he can sympathize with. But also she knows nothing about her staff personally.
Yeah.
It was quite a good little bit there. And Greta's like, oh yeah, I put his girlfriend's number on the tablet, and she's like, thanks, Greta. Like, I'll
But then she sees the message from Shiv's phone to Ryan saying, go see Rebrov and say big plans are afoot.
Yes. She like storms down because they've had this whole conversation last episode that a kill command was given from Ryan
to Ryan.
But Ryan told Rebrov, and that's why Rebrov just randomly killed him in the cell.
Yeah.
And so she's like, what's this? Goes down to
Rebrov, and she's like, what's the kill command? And he says, big plans are afoot.
Yeah.
And
she
just
storms out. And we see like a long shot of Rebrov just like kind of slowly smirking. And it's like it's worked in his favor. He's kind of playing along with it.
And he's kind of figured out what George has done in a way. So he's kind of, oh, nice one, Georgie boy. Then we see a Guardian article saying Russia are taking no military action.
Yeah, no military response so far or something it says.
And Wes grabs George and is like, you're coming with me.
Yeah, they get in like a 4x4 thing, and she's like driving out of Lazarus, and she's talking about recruiting Shiv, and this is when we find out. We get a reminder that that she's known him for a long time, and
she said she wonders if she would ever have recruited him if he hadn't had the gift. Even though he's become like their top agent.
So with the reversing time thing, some people are naturally mutants and they can remember the resets, whereas most of the agents are like ex-special forces, CIA, whatever, and they've been given an injection that makes them remember it,
But he's got a gift, and she's like, I wonder what will happen.
Yeah, she says like he's a better agent than most of them, but he can't ever like switch off and live in the real world.
Yeah, that's it. And she's like, sometimes you can stop a war without a gun.
Yeah, she says like with a conversation instead of a gun.
And they turn up at the Russian embassy.
Yes.
And they meet with Ambassador Belov.
Yes.
Who they've kind of said that like we've got relations with her.
Yeah.
Like it's somebody.
But George isn't made privy to what they're doing. They just turn up to this place. And they go into her living room, whatever. And the wife, her husband and son are there, and then she like, shushes them out of the room.
Yeah, get out. And Wes basically says to her, "We don't think you're under attack."
Yeah, and she's like, "We just got attacked."
She's like, "Don't tell me we're not under attack. We've just been attacked."
Yeah, and they're trying to figure out if it's the end or the beginning of something.
Yeah.
Wes is like, America aren't trying to start a war with you,
and she's like,
but Russia don't want a war either. Like it's
she's like, like it wasn't done with like stars and stripes dropping, but there was a bomb that went off and near our border, and we want to know where it was going.
Yeah, she says, was it aiming towards us or away from us? And it's all very it's very kind of interesting.
And she's like, but we're not doing anything at the moment.
Yeah.
And Wes is like, your fleet's in the Bering Sea. Like, you are doing stuff.
Yeah. And then they pretty much end it as her saying, like, we're staying strong and we're going to bare our teeth if something happens. Yeah. But.
Well, no, she says, like, the thing with Russia is that we're always baring our teeth.
Yeah.
So that there's not going to be a warning before we bite.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
So it's like, but they had previously said, like, if Russia was about to do stuff, she would have been, her and her family.
No, that's the next bit here. So they're driving away.
Oh, yeah.
They're driving away, and Wes is like, I don't think they're going to do anything. She's like thinking about it. She's like, I don't think anything's going to happen. And we see George is kind of like, fuck's sake. And then she's like, if something was going to happen, if something was going to kick off, her husband and son wouldn't have been there when we got there. They would have been somewhere safe.
And they wouldn't have taken the time to talk to us.
Exactly, yeah. And George is like, fuck's sake. And he's in the bathroom from before in the toilet, and he's like punching the wall, and he gets like a flash of Sarah, and he's like, fuck. And he's kind of like, I'm gonna fucking do something. Like he needs to just, now's the time.
And I was like, oh.
I thought he was gonna do a Reb Rob and just like storm Wes's office, and I was like, that is fucking dumb if you're gonna do that.
Yeah, but he does smarter than that.
But it's still pretty fucking crazy.
So he calls Belov, the ambassador.
Yeah.
And he was like, there is stuff going on.
Yeah.
He's like, there's a blue Fiat at an airport near...
No, it was near. It was at the farm.
At the farm in Brasov, there's a body in the back.
Yeah,
and he was like, the American fleet has just gone to Japan,
because in the background of his conversation, he can hear the Lazarus team talking about the movement of the American fleet. Yeah, so he throws that into the conversation to show he knows.
He's kind of like telling her that like, this was a.
But he literally goes on to say the British are involved, and the person that's in the boot is involved in it some way and stuff like that. And she's like, "Who is this? Who is this?" And then we don't see the end of that conversation.
No, but he turns up at the Russian embassy.
Well, he's outside. Or whatever happened, he gets like flashes of all like the murders that he's done. It like flashes to everyone that he's killed so far, and it's kind of him reliving it all, kind of thing. Yeah, and he drives like crazy to the place like really fast.
Yeah, he gets to the embassy, and Belov's like, "We found the body."
Yeah.
And he's like, "You need to strike first because they're gonna do this."
Did you notice though that when he goes upstairs, the family aren't there anymore?
No.
So I think that's supposed to be the implication that it's got worse since that conversation.
And she's like, "No, we're not going to strike first." And he's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And shoots Belov.
Yeah, he just pulls the gun and just shoots her in the head.
Just shoots her.
Oh no, because before that he's like, she's like, "I knew Shiv." She says, "I knew him. Like, I've known you for like 30 minutes. Like, what's you to..." And then I think that's when he just pulls the gun on her and shoots her.
And then guards come in and he shoots a couple of them.
Yeah, it's
goes
a cool
into
little
the
bit,
hallway and shoots like 4 guards.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, fucking hell. And then goes back to the room.
Yeah.
And Belov's like, "No, please." And he shoots her in the head.
Yeah. And then the husband and son
massacred this embassy.
The husband and son are like cowering, and he shoots the husband in the head.
Yeah. And he says to the son, "Is there a panic button in here?"
Yeah.
And he kind of like nods. And it's like, fuck. He's just massacred the Russian embassy, including the family.
And then there's a shot of him just like standing at the top of the stairs.
Yeah.
With like the alarms going off. And it sounds like someone's banging on the door to get in, but I think it's just like a Hans Zimmer-ish like music.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was gonna stand there and like either get taken out and then it was gonna reset, or he was gonna get arrested. But then we see him going back into Lazarus.
He goes back into Lazarus. A missile's been launched.
Alarms are going off like crazy everywhere.
Yeah, troops have crossed the border, and Wes is like, "Right, we're doing it. We're restarting the clock." And it's like, fuck, he's done it. He's actually done it. After like the bomb not being successful, we still managed to turn it so they're restarting.
And it's so intense because she's briefing them. She's like, "We're gonna do it in 1 minute. We've got 2 things that we need to all remember." She's like, Rebrov and Shiv.
She's like, "Yeah, we're gonna lose Rebrov. He's in a flat in France. We're gonna go straight there and try and get him."
Yeah.
And second thing, Shiv, immediately get to his location. Bring him in immediately, but don't hurt him.
Don't hurt him. So she needs to get his point of view on it.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, fuck. And any minute now, shit's going to go down.
And you can see George is like visibly like happy, but trying to keep it.
And also like is aware.
And we can see Archie standing behind him and she's just looking straight at him. So she's like fully keeping an eye on him to see how he's reacting to the news, because they all know that he's begged them to reset time. Yeah.
And it's been a matter of days since he begged them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that's what I mean
fresh
about
in the mind.
Transparent, this kind of thing. It's murky because it's like, why would he go to these like depths? But it's like, this has worked out in his favor very much. So
it's very convenient, isn't it, George?
It is. And then boom, reset.
He wakes up. It's our first reset in like 4 episodes.
Yeah,
no, because it's like episode 2 is when she dies.
Yeah.
So our first reset since episode 2, which feels weird.
I think we no. Shiv had resets
in the current
present
timeline,
day.
in the present day.
But it's only been like just over a week, so it makes sense.
And he wakes up during
the sex, and he's incredibly happy to see her, and he's like kissing her, and he's like, oh,
yeah, and he starts laughing, and then we see one by one like Archie wake up, Rebrov wake up, the Dane wakes up.
Tame Impala feels like we only go back.
Yeah, which is a very apt song. You're right,
and this is fucking great. This whole scene I thought was incredible.
It was.
We see Shiv wake up because most of them aren't awake at midnight, so they wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
So we see Shiv wake up in the morning. He immediately wakes up and he says something like, "George, you fucker," or something like. No,
because he's just been killed.
Oh yeah, we literally see the point of view of George shooting him, don't we?
Yeah, because from Shiv's point of view, he's just been killed, and then he wakes up and he wakes up.
He literally grabs a gun.
He's still on that mission.
He grabs a gun and sprints out of the room. And then we see Archie, and she does something similar, and she's sprinting down the street, I guess, towards Shiv.
And then Rebrov wakes up, and he's like, "Oh, George, I hope you're already running." And then George runs out his door.
We see like a shot of him looking at the camera, and then he like runs away from the camera.
Like, oh, yes.
This is like what we wanted. Like, it's so good.
Yeah, and now like this is that. So that's the end of the episode.
Yeah,
but now we're just like. Oh,
so this is what we wanted. So we got 2 episodes of repercussions.
We got Shiv chasing George. George also probably going after Shiv. Archie going after both of them.
Yeah.
Lazarus going after both of them.
Yeah.
And going after Rebrov. Rebrov just trying to get the hell out of there.
Yeah. I think it could well go down the route of George ending up like clearing his name and just.
So. Like I said, this series has been so unpredictable, and I love it for that.
Yeah.
I think it's been great in the unpredictability. But I was gonna ask you, like, do you think George will get his way at the end of the series?
I think if he does, it will be by like killing Shiv again and living through the checkpoint, so that Shiv's got, or not him killing Shiv, but Shiv not being able to prove his innocence, being killed in another way. And maybe Rebrov dying as well. And then George is just alive and he's got like this guilt. And maybe he's not happy in the end, but he's like survived it. Because I feel like I don't think they can do him like completely on the run, because it's not as in like him having the secret is kind of the key part
and
of it,
like,
you know?
Really, he doesn't need to be on the run. It's only from Shiv. If he can...
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
If he can make sure that Lazarus gets Shiv before Shiv gets him...
No, but if they get Shiv, that's the thing, then Shiv will just explain it and they'll just believe him.
He needs them to get Shiv and then kill Shiv.
Yes, or he needs to kill... But if he kills Shiv, they'll be like, well, someone killed Shiv. This is the thing, because if he's running, then... it looks bad. Like he can't be running. He's running to do something, but
he's also ran and left Sarah.
Yeah, so that's what we were saying before. If
Shiv should go get Sarah
and like kidnap Sarah, but then it looks like Shiv's the bad guy. That might be what happened.
Yeah.
Imagine if Sarah gets killed again, like in a crossfire.
Well, we've got 2 episodes left.
There's a lot that could happen. Like,
yeah. Oh, it's been great.
It's been really good, and that whole last scene, like I want to go back and watch that again.
The
like,
Tame Impala was a great.
It was so good, and it was all like the cool shots of them, like from bird's eye view, waking up in bed, and you know the classic kind of camera sits up with you kind of thing.
Camera,
yeah, and they did that the 3-4 times, and with everyone, like Shiv, just like almost like an Edgar Wright thing of like the point of view of grabbing the gun.
Yeah,
you know, like just like legging it out. It was so like. It was like like marks, get set, go, and they're all fucking going. It was so
no,
it was really really fucking good.
Top stuff.
Yeah. I'm not sure how to rate it.
I think it's up there with the best episodes.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna push it above the previous
highest.
I don't think I could go for a 9 basically because it was good, but there's 2 episodes to go, and I don't want to. I don't want to do 9s and then have to go 10.
I wouldn't be surprised if one of the last 2's a 9.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think it's got to be an 8.
I'm going 8 as well.
It was a solid 8.
We've had 2. I think we've gone 7, 8, 8.
6.
No.
There was a 6.
It was 7, 6, 8, 8, 7, and then this one 8.
Yeah.
It's pretty solid overall.
It is solid, yeah.
Well, half the episodes are 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Considering we rarely give out 8s, that's pretty good going.
It is, yeah.
And the last 2 are the highest rated episodes.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it, yeah.
I am definitely looking forward to it.
I think I'll watch it on Sunday.
I was thinking that as well.
Yeah.
Did I message you to say I can record on Wednesday? I know
this
isn't a conversation for now.
No, is that because we were put Wednesday as maybe day?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll do Wednesday. Cool, and then we can have we'll do House of Dragon then as well, Dragon House. And She-Hulk 2 and 3. Sorry, Mrs. Hulk 2 and 3. If we can, if you can watch those, and 4 as well because that's out today.
Yeah.
Apparently, episode 4 spoils The Sopranos. Great.
Cool.
I mean, I only watched 2 episodes of The Sopranos.
If I was gonna watch The Sopranos, I would have watched it by now.
Yeah, I mean, also it's like, so and so dies. Like, I'm pretty sure I know how Sopranos ends. Like, it doesn't mean it doesn't stop me from wanting anyway.
But we this sounds like the sort of conversation that would belong in
personal projects.
It's personal
projects.
So, Sam, what have you been watching, doing, sleeping, watching, probably watching?
Yeah, watching. Yeah, I watched the A24 film Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, I was going to watch that on Sunday, but I was a little bit hungover, so never got around to it.
It's a lot, so yeah.
It's on Prime. That's why I didn't, because I was like, I know it's a lot.
Yeah. It was really good, yeah, as you'd imagine. Really good.
A guy at my work watched it 3 times, and he keeps saying it's amazing.
Yeah, I'd quite like to watch it again. It's like I say, it's a lot because it's everything everywhere all at once. They do some really creative stuff with it. It's quite a kind of touching story at Central, kind of like a family story, but with some kind of mind-bending sci-fi elements in there, and very, very visually kind of stimulating, I would say.
Right, I'm probably going to watch it the next week or 2.
Yeah, I won't go into it too much, but yeah, if you watch it anytime soon, we can have a proper
deeper dive
chat about it. Yeah. What about yourself?
So yesterday, after work, me and some
watched
work
the Lazarus Project.
I did once I got back. And Christina went to the Dice Saloon on London Road in Brighton.
Oh yeah, they do. They sell board games downstairs, don't they?
Yeah, it's
upstairs.
It's just a back.
Okay, yeah.
But it's a whole board game thing. So it looks inside like a converted church.
Yes, I think I know. I think it did used to be, well, probably a church. At one point, it was like a venue/bar thing, I think.
Yeah. It's basically like a big open like hall.
Yeah.
With hundreds and hundreds of board games.
Cool.
In the back, it's got like war games with like figurines that people play. There's loads of people back there having really intense.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Things. You can get like food and drinks there.
Oh, cool. So can you just like if you're
so we booked a table.
Yeah.
And then you just pick a game. We were there for like 4 hours.
Nice.
We played Settlers of Catan.
Oh yeah, I never played it before.
My mum weirdly is really into it, so I played it a couple of times with her. Yeah. And we played it. It took way longer than we thought it was going to.
Yeah.
But it was good fun. It was one of those. Sometimes you play a game and like within like an hour you're like, I'm not gonna win this.
Oh really? Yeah.
I kind of had cornered myself, but it was really good fun and it's kind of intense. And it's like, do you know what? Board games are great.
Oh, it's not too expensive. Oh god, you can get one for £18. That is good.
Yeah, like
how much it is on Amazon. I've got an Amazon voucher.
You should get it because it's good fun.
Yeah, it would fit in with the.
And you can play it with like 2 or 3 people, but it is just a fun game. And it's all like trading and building, and I do highly recommend it. But that was a good fun, and then that took us 3.5 hours.
Okay, yeah.
I think they said if it's like a 5 or 6 player game, there's an additional thing that you can do to make the game quicker that we missed.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
the expected time of 90 minutes went to 3.5 hours.
Wow.
But it was good fun, and I highly recommend the Dice Saloon. Had a salami and cheese panini whilst I was there.
Nice.
Which is very nice. But yeah, it's kind of good to. We were gonna say like play a few different games, shorter games, but we ended up playing that for a while. But I'd definitely go back and play again.
Yeah.
There's another game we played at the end. We were like, we just need something for the last like half an hour.
Yeah.
More chill or more like quick. And there was a card game that was like each card has got a number from 1 to 100 on.
Okay.
And you deal them out, and without saying anything.
Oh yeah, the mines. Yeah. I've got it down there.
Yeah. And that was good fun. We managed to. We I don't think we followed the rules exactly.
Yeah.
Once we did it with 1 card, we each got 2 cards.
Yeah.
And they each got 3 cards.
Yeah.
We never quite completed it with 3 cards.
There's a bit of a rhythm to it that you get to.
Yeah, there's kind of moments where like we kind of slowly. It'd been like a long wait since the last card, and I'm like, surely I'm not next.
Yeah, it's in the rules. It talks about like it's like there's a secret to it that once you get it, you kind of get it,
which
and
is
it's like
counting.
It's effectively just counting, and if you're all counting at the same time, you can get into a rhythm, but
I didn't want to do that.
No, the fun of it is, yeah.
But there was one where we had 3 cards each, a total of 15 cards.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there with the number 94, and I was like, this is going to be right near the end.
Yeah.
And then it kind of got to me, Christina, one other person, each had a card. We were all kind of sitting there being like, I think the one before was like 74.
Yeah.
And we were like, surely not. And I was kind of like,
yeah.
And it was 94, 95, 97. But the person who had 95 put theirs down just before me. And I was just like, There was another bit where somebody had 44 and 47. So they went to put them down in quick succession. I saw 44 and was like, okay, put mine down, which happened to be 46. I managed to put it down just between their 44 and 47. But it was good fun. And they've got like a shit ton there. I'd like to go back and try some of the other stuff.
Are they organized in any way so you can tell like play times and stuff? Or
yeah, although I didn't really look.
Yeah,
because we'd been talking about it at work and we were like, let's play Settlers of Catan.
Okay, cool.
And that took longer than expected. So after that was just pick a quick short one. But there's literally hundreds there. And like you see the people with the big setups with the war games, you're like, fuck, I'd really love to know how to play them and like be good at them, because they seem like really good fun, but I imagine it's a steep learning curve.
Yeah. A lot of it, we spoke about the Game of Thrones game, I think last episode and maybe episode before. And it's like that kind of risk level of, learning to play it and setting up can take an hour or 2. And then you've got to play the game that can be like 6 hours. So it was, I guess if you learn, watch a couple of videos before you go down there, you're into a good start, aren't you? Yeah. That's a good idea though. So do you pay to book the table?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay,
I can't remember how much it was. Somebody else booked it. But it was fairly reasonable, and you've got a table for like 4 hours. It was a Wednesday evening, so it was fairly quiet in there. But there was still a decent amount of people in there for like
that's quite cool. So it is like a pub bar thing as well, basically.
Well, it's kind of got a little like cafe set up at the back that has like a fridge with some drinks, and they've got like I think they usually do pizzas, but their oven wasn't working.
But the front is like a shop as well.
It's a shop.
Yeah. So I've looked at some games on their website before. Yeah, I've never been down there. No.
But it's quite big. Like I was very surprised about how big. You could probably seat a good like 200 people in there.
Okay, yeah.
On a good day. So, Any Brighton listeners, check out the Dice Saloon.
Yeah, nice.
And you can't fucking miss it because it's huge.
Nice, good recommendation. Cool. I hadn't thought about Settlers of Catan in years, so I am.
It's a fun little game.
I'll have a little look at it. I may well get a copy if my voucher allows, because I've been looking for something to spend that on. Yeah. But what do you want to talk about first? Dragon House or Power Rings?
Let's do Power Rings.
Yeah, cool. I haven't got any notes on either of these two, as I imagine you don't either.
So the first two episodes came out. I watched the first one on Saturday.
Yeah.
And then the second one on like Tuesday. So I had a bit of a gap in between.
I think I did Friday and Saturday. Yeah. So a little
but it's good fun. I'm quite enjoying it. And I think one aspect which is like different for me compared to House of Dragons, that like I have no idea what's going on. And because it's not based on source material, it's just set in kind of an unwritten time.
Yeah,
it's like, I know Galadriel, I know Elrond. I've heard of Durin.
Yes.
But aside from that, it's like, oh, cool. I'm. And there's a lot of like mystery going on.
There is, like there's the mysterious wizard-looking stranger who's come down. Who
I said to Christina, like, this could easily be Gandalf. This could also easily be like Sauron, and it could be like anyone in between.
They're making it seem like he's probably Gandalf. But he's first person he meets is a hobbit. Gandalf's always loved hobbits. Like there is some connection. He looks like Gandalf. They put him in a grey outfit, but that's almost too obvious, isn't it?
Yeah, and he had the mark of Sauron on him.
Did he? Oh, okay. I didn't notice that. Yeah.
Or he drew it.
He drew a load of.
And I was like, but that
it would be interesting if he was like a not physical embodiment, but like because Sauron we don't see at this point. We've seen him in his armor in like a kind of visiony sequence thing, but
but I was kind of confused as well about the timeline, because I've never read the Lord of the Rings books, particularly not the Silmarillion. But about the timeline and stuff, and I had to check like, this is before Sauron made the rings. So I was like, because they're all like, Sauron's evil, we fought against Sauron and Morgoth.
Well, so they fought against Morgoth, and I think what it was, because it wasn't super clear, but I think this is just from context, from thinking about it afterwards. I think that clip we get of Sauron is them going like, oh, Sauron was rumored to be his like the sorcerer of Morgoth. But I don't think they ever actually had any face to face with him.
Right. Okay.
And then he disappeared with all the orcs.
Because I was kind of thinking like, why did they all accept rings from this guy they know is
evil?
This
is the thing. So I think. Well, also Celebrimbor, the guy who had the hammer, who was Elrond's friend.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he is the guy who forges the rings with Sauron.
Right, because that makes sense. When they were like, we're going to build a big tower that can forge anything, I was like, I wonder what they're going to forge.
Yeah, it's going to be some sort of trickery. Well, as obviously to make, and that's kind of the whole point of this series, the Rings of Power. So
I have enjoyed it though. I've really enjoyed Galadriel so far.
Yeah, I
think
great. People were like, "Oh, she wasn't a warrior; she was a sorceress," and it's like
it's fucking Galadriel.
She can be both, and
like this is her like 3,000 years before we saw her in Lord of the Rings.
Exactly. I think parts of it for me. I think especially compared to House of the Dragon, it did feel like there was lots of kind of exposition without action kind of thing, and I understand they have to set up a whole world in that first episode.
It is slower than House of the Dragon.
And going back and watching after that the third episode of House of the Dragon, is it third episode? Fourth episode, third episode. I did feel like, this is more palatable kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I know that's because that's episode 3 and it was episode 2, and it's I think the fact they're coming out together is making it really hard not to compare them.
It is. I kind of like the fact that one of them I know lots about and one I don't.
Yeah.
So I can kind of separate it in those ways.
And they are like, one is more of a kind of realistic-ish, like House of the Dragon, even though there are lots of dragons in it compared to Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Well, there's not that many. We've only seen like 2 or 3 or 4 now, but it does feel like more of a kind of political kind of drama, whereas Lord of the Rings already, though we haven't seen massive battles and stuff, feels much more like a high fantasy thing, doesn't it? And they have got their own niche. It's almost like a Star Wars, Star Trek kind of thing in some ways. You know?
I can see that comparison.
And in that sense, it's like they're not directly competing with each other, but they are in lots of other ways. Yeah. I'm still not really sure on it. I'll see how it goes. Like
I enjoyed the first 2 episodes. I'm a bit more reluctant to state my love for it.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm willing to stick through like the whole series.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I'll watch through it, and yeah, certain things I'm like, it doesn't. I think it just doesn't feel. It doesn't feel like the Lord of the Rings that we know from the films.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. And I think that's kind of what I've been kind of grappling with a little bit.
I get that.
I think it feels to me much better than The Hobbit. Maybe not the first Hobbit, because the first Hobbit was pretty good in lots of ways. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
I think because they put out 2 episodes at once.
They needed to, really, didn't they? Because it catches up with House of the Dragon, but also, like you were saying, that first episode is like a prequel to the series almost.
Yeah, and it's a little bit confusing what was going. But I imagine once they've kind of found their feet and you know all the characters, it might pick up a bit.
Yeah, it's some cool stuff. Like the bit with the town, and there was the tunnels. And like that, is it an orc? It was an orc.
I think it's an orc.
Yeah, it came up.
When she just dumps the head on the bar, I was like, "We need to fucking leave."
It was cool. Like, yeah. It's like they haven't. So orcs, I think they said Sauron and the orcs have been gone for like 200 years or something, or 300 years. So all like the humans have never seen anything like that weird. Really,
yeah.
It's been like a down.
The elves, it's like this happened like last week.
Yeah. And it's interesting. Like as soon as like the Elf King is like, right, we're pulling out. It's like that's when everything kicks off. It's like obviously the bad guys are waiting until they've taken a step back, because they were going to retreat, like pull back their like guards on those towers and all that stuff, weren't they? But
I like the bit as well. And Galadriel went to the really, really northern castle, and it had the monster come out.
Yeah, it was that. A lot of that first episode felt like, what stuff do people like about Lord of the Rings? And it was like the Mines of Moria and then the cave troll. They literally went like, oh, it's a frost troll or whatever. And not in a bad way, but there was a couple of moments throughout and I was like, this feels like stuff that people like. It's the greatest hits of the original.
Yeah, I found that as well with the second episode when they went to the Dwarven Kingdom.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, like dwarves are cool, aren't they?
Because the Mines of Moria lead into Khazad-dûm, don't they? So the places that we see is the same place they were running through with the Balrog.
When it came on, Christine was like, "Oh, is that the place?"
And
I was like, "No, I don't."
That's what I said as well. Exactly the same conversation.
I think it came up on TikTok after. I was like, "Oh no, I was wrong."
Yeah,
I was like, "Sorry,
because
Christine."
The architecture's the same, but obviously there's no trees or light or anything.
And it's like
would then be a while.
We haven't seen too many Dwarven.
I think the fall of Khazad-dûm is, I think the Balrog takes it out.
It's fairly recent in Lord of the Rings, isn't it?
Because Gimli doesn't know.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think Gimli's from a different dwarven place.
I think he said like his uncle.
But they, although they have the whole conversation he has the conversation with Elrond Durin about he hasn't seen him for 20 years. They still live longer than humans, dwarves, I think. So they'd live for like 200 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So Gimli might not have been there for like 60 years. I think he's seen him when he was a kid, so maybe 100 years.
It could be, yeah. But it's still fairly recent history.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So we probably won't get to the fall of Khazad-dûm, at least in this.
I wonder if they do stuff with Durin, because is like Durin's Day named after that Durin?
Well, because I think the prince is Prince Durin the Third. I think I saw somewhere.
Right, okay.
And then we see his dad is there, so he must be. If he's a Durin, he's the second.
Right, I don't think he was called Durin.
Maybe he wasn't called Durin. No. And they've got some sort of secret thing. in a box, which could be that stone from The Hobbit that made them go mad, but it's probably not that.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember there was like a weird elder stone or something?
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, I'm intrigued to see where it goes.
Yeah.
And I will certainly stick with it.
Yeah, we'll come back next week probably with another episode.
Yeah, and if you're not sick of still talking about fantasy, straight into House of the Dragon.
From high fantasy to low fantasy.
So when we talked about it last week, I'd seen the first two, and you've seen the first one.
So now I've seen 2 and 3. Yeah. So
thoughts so far?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. The fact it's skipping through time, so it was like 6 months and then another 9 months a year or something again.
So it's jumped.
They said it was 3 years since the start, I think.
Yes, it jumped 6 months or 9 months, and then jumped 2 years because
it was 2 years. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. So yeah, two and a bit. Yeah. Maybe almost 3 years.
I think it works quite well.
That's what I mean.
To get the story going.
And compared, that's another reason why, compared to that first 2 episodes of Lord of the Rings, although that skipped hundreds of years from Galadriel being a kid, there was something about it that just, pacing wise, I'm really enjoying it. It's, there's just lots of good stuff going on.
I think like the character's great. Like Rhaenyra is brilliant. Every time you're on screen, you're like, fuck Gareth. Yeah. Like, buddy, killing that boar and the white heart appearing.
Yeah, it was cool because it was like she kind of, because everyone saw her dad like both not really killing it because everyone's holding it down and failing to kill it the first time. And then she's just come back from being on her own with the Kingsguard. And she's covered in blood, so she clearly did it herself. It's like she's just showing him up like at every turn. And with the whole thing in the previous episode with getting the dragon egg, like she's just sorting shit out.
That bit was great when you saw the dragon coming from like under the fog in Dragonstone. It was like, yes, I think King Viserys is a fascinating character.
He is,
he's a good man and a terrible king.
Yes, He's got a lot of you can empathize with him, but also you're making some terrible decisions.
He constantly makes terrible decisions. Yeah. Like that bit where he announces that he wants to marry Alicent.
Yeah.
And it's like, fucking hell, just pissed off like everybody except your hand who's already loyal to you.
That's it. He's like, he had the conversation with his daughter and you're like, okay, cool, they're finally talking about stuff.
Yeah.
And then he's like, cool, I can marry whoever I want. And she chooses the one person that she's got to talk
is like, marry my daughter. My like 12-year-old daughter.
Yeah, that was really funny. Just not funny, but like.
And there's when the bit when Otto, his hand, says, I've got a solution. Why don't you marry your daughter and heiress to your 2-year-old son, Aegon? And he's like, fuck off. Like, what are you doing? The way he looks over to the kid who's just playing with toys. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But I think who's stealing the show so far is Daemon Targaryen, played by Matt Smith.
Yeah, although he's not in it masses, when he's in it, you're like, cool. Yeah. And the whole part with the white flag, and you're like, has he like lost it because he's like pissed off with his brother? And then you're like, oh no, this is the whole plan.
And that entire sequence that lasts like 15 or 10 minutes, he doesn't say a word.
Yeah.
And he sees the letter, he gets pissed off, he goes down and just fucking annihilates everyone.
And he comes out with like half of the Crab King.
Yeah.
Do you see he apparently, well, you can see he's got a grayscale on him, the
Crab King, yeah.
And the mask is the Sons of the Harpies mask, which is quite interesting. I don't think it's supposed to mean too much. It's just like
no, I think like in Fire and Blood, there's like quite a big section on the War of the Stepstones. They have kind of like jumped through it. I know people thought they're going to spend longer on it,
right?
But it's not really about that. So
no, I do think, but people reactions online are a bit like, oh, is that what the Crab Feeder, Crab King, is that it for him? And it's like, yeah, he kind of served his purpose. It was just,
it's just about him.
No, and he was never going to be like, he looked fucking cool when you first see him like nailing the, like crucifying the people. You're like, okay, cool. End of episode 2, and he looks fucked up. Like, is this some kind of weird, like, he almost looked like a Davy Jones character, you know? But yeah, he just, like you say, he served his purpose. He's not the Night King, and we're not going to get a Night King in this because it's not what it's about.
I've really loved every episode so far.
Yeah,
and they're all good. I love this one, episode 3, where the guy's like, "Hi, I'm Jason Lannister." And he's like,
Jason
"Yeah, I
Lannister.
can tell from all the fucking lions all over you." And I was like, "He's such a Lannister."
I love when he comes up with the gold like spear, and then when the deer's about to be killed, he's just at his side. He's like, "Remember this? You want to kill him with this?" It's like, "Oh, just fuck off."
Yeah.
And obviously, like, so the marriage situation in that episode ended with her dad being like, "Just marry whoever you want. You just need to get married." It's like the obvious choice is Carl, whatever, the guy who's her mate, the one that she picked, the
Kristen Cole. Yeah, but he's in the Kingsguard.
Are they not allowed to get married?
He can't get married.
I didn't know that.
No lands, no titles.
Kristen Bale.
Kristen Cole.
It looks a little bit like Christian Bale.
No, Kristen Cole. I do like Kristen Cole.
Yeah, I like him too. Yeah.
So I'm quite intrigued as to see what your predictions are.
I didn't know that they couldn't get married because that was my prediction. I mean,
that was a whole because Jaime Lannister was Kingsguard.
Can you not leave though?
No, it's job for life. I think Barristan Selmy.
Okay, so they'll be like on the side then, definitely.
Maybe.
Like, I was surprised nothing happened in the forest because he was like, "My daughter, who is 17, is out there." And it's like, okay, so
he's out there with a sexy Dornishman.
She's not like a child. So it's in Game of Thrones land. It's like it's fine that he's like 30 and she's 17.
See, I'm trying to say anything. So I know how it's going to play out. But
I did see something that I didn't read the article, but apparently in like season 4 of Game of Thrones, when Joffrey is doing some sort of speech, he's talking about history, and I think he mentions how a character dies, which is a spoiler for this, but I didn't read the article, so I'm like, cool.
Okay, so you don't know.
I don't know, but I think it was one of the key people.
Right, yeah, he does, so don't rewatch Game of Thrones.
No, is it going to be like not anytime soon, kind of?
No, probably not.
No, okay. Predictions. I mean,
Christina saw that spoiler and her sister sent her a picture of it, and I was like, delete it and forget about it because we probably won't see it for like 4 years.
Right. Okay. Is it the specifics of it as well?
Yeah.
Cool. Let me think. Well, I mean, I think so. I imagine maybe Rhaenyra will settle for someone that she doesn't particularly love, but I think that the whole Kristen Bale thing on the side will keep going and develop. Maybe after the time skip that we're supposed to be having, you said.
Yeah,
I know we've had time skips.
I mean, the way that they're going, there might not be an obvious time skip. It might just be, we've now got older actresses.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but yeah, I think maybe just maybe that will happen, and maybe even then that would complicate things if she has children, and it's a bit like the Jaime and Cersei thing where it's like, so maybe something on those lines. I think that based on how we haven't seen much of the king with his like injuries from the throne this episode.
He lost a couple of fingers.
Oh, did he lose them? Yeah, I know he had like bandages at one point. But...
Yeah, and there was a CGI error in this episode at one point where he hands somebody something and his 2 fingers on his left hand are green, where he's got like,
really?
Where they're gonna like CGI.
I didn't see that.
It's quite funny.
But yeah, I think he's on his way out, and I think what me and Amy were discussing the end of this episode, I think because he was very sure to his daughter, like, I didn't do this like as a fleeting thing, like you are going to be the heir and I'm not going to change that.
Yeah,
I think that what could be interesting is if maybe he has some conversation with Daemon and maybe he alludes that he's going to pass it to him and then dies, and then that causes like a bit of a, do you know what I mean? I mean, I think either way, I think he's going to cop it, and it's going to be between Daemon and Rhaenyra, because Rhaenyra, whatever she's called, Rhaenyra, because it's been set up from the start. It's like there was the scene where he was sitting on the throne and she comes up and she's like, "Don't sit on the throne." It's fucking like that. Yeah. That's the way it seems to be going. And he isn't long for this world because he got pissed and then he was like, "Oh, I'm hungover, I'm ill."
How did he?
He said, "The gods are punishing me for my indulgences."
I was like, that's a saying I need to
remember.
There, mate,
being fucking there. Yeah, no, I think that's right. I don't know the other the other sides of things. I mean, I know there's the alliance with the sea snake and Daemon, and Daemon's Sea Snake's son is a dragon rider as well now.
He turns up in the fight with the Crab King.
Yes, yeah. Is that just because they're like Targaryen adjacent? Did he already have a dragon, or did Daemon give him a dragon?
But in the early episodes, he's like young. So
yeah. Okay, cool.
But
so if you're
also Valyrian,
which means that
they've
got that shit in them, because the sea snake was like, I was never. He said something like in the last episode, like, we were never dragon riders historically.
Yeah.
So I guess Daemon's sorted them out with dragons and stuff.
I think like because they're both from Valyria.
Yeah.
I think the story is that the Targaryens were quite high up in Valyria, but the Valyrians were quite like a lower house in Valyria, but they went to Westeros with the Targaryens.
Okay.
There's also the Celticars, but we never ever hear of them because they're nothing else in Westeros as well.
Right, okay. The other thing that was in a previous episode, I think it was episode 2 with the little girl, she was talking about like another big dragon that went off and can be heard crying and stuff. I mean, that feels like the kind of thing that may come up in the future. But also, they talked about ice spiders in the first season of Game of Thrones, and they never brought them in.
No.
So it's like some of it's just world building, but it would be interesting if that came into play in some way. But yeah, I'm not sure other than that. I'm very interested about where it's going.
Nice.
I think it's the intrigue is great. The fact Lannisters are in there. I didn't realize that the Lannister twin was on the High Council. He doesn't wear red and gold. That's probably why. Yeah. But I think that's interesting. They've got like a finger in the pie or whatever.
I like that there's one guy on the council who like genuinely just cares about the realm, and he's just
that the guy who came up and was talking to him about who he recommended?
Yeah.
And the king was like, let me guess, it's your son. He's like, no, it's whoever.
Marry it to Corlys Valerian's son.
Oh yeah. He's like, what I recommended before, but the other way around now. It's with the son. Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is the one guy
to be
who's
fair,
actually a good guy.
That could be an interesting thing, but based on where everyone is now, I don't see that happening because Dragon Rider Junior's with Daemon, so but now that the war is finished there, who's to say that things don't settle down a little bit, which could be where this potential heir thing gets transferred. I think it would be interesting to have the whole further conflict kicked off by like a bit of a confusion or mistaken communication, because that's the kind of thing that happens. And the fact that Rhaenyra would be so steadfast in like, no, like 2 years ago, my dad was like, you're never not going to be it. And Damon's like, yeah, but he told me yesterday and then died in mysterious circumstances. You know, I think there's something there, whether it's those specifics or not. And yes,
I'm sure there is, like what you're describing.
I think that's happened with some conflicts before. Maybe that. And I mean, the Song of Ice and Fire,
it's literally the fucking Battle of Hastings.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of.
Edward the Confessor allegedly told.
Which is
Harold Godwin said he was there, and William the Conqueror.
Which is, and George R.R. Martin pulls from British history a fair bit. The War of the Roses was a lot of that first few.
Game of Thrones.
The Clash of Kings is War of the Roses, basically, isn't it? Yeah. What are those kings clashing about?
I'm glad you enjoy it. I'm quite intrigued about your predictions. We'll have to have to keep them up as we go.
Yeah,
it's quite interesting hearing.
From
the other side, because obviously, like, because I kind of know where things are going. It's kind of harder to tell what's being hinted at to people that don't read it. So it's quite interesting to see.
I mean, the White Hart thing. That's not. Baratheons are a black stag, aren't they? So White Hart is.
The White Hart are apparently magic as well, and apparently it's like a symbol of like if you kill the White Hart, then you are the rightful like king.
Right.
Which is why Viserys was like, let's fucking get that. And then the fact it showed up to Rhaenyra, and then she decides to let it go.
It's kind of like a double thing. It's like maybe she was offered it, and
it's kind of like how I think it's the first episode of Game of Thrones when they find the direwolves. The mother direwolf was killed by the antler of a stag in her throat, and it's like, oh, the ruffian's gonna kill or cut the throat or cut the head off the direwolf.
Yes.
I think it's some sort of vague symbolism.
Like an omen and symbolism and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. George R. R. Martin does love that kind of stuff.
He does.
And he does also, particularly in the books, loves doing that stuff and it never coming true to throw people off.
Cool. But in the show, they're like, we're only going to put it in if it happens.
Well, I think that in the early seasons of Game of Thrones, they do talk about some stuff, but it kind of takes a path of its own. But yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So I think that brings us to the end of this episode 57, I'm going to guess.
I think that's right, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice.
If you enjoyed this episode, which we hope you did, I had fun with it.
Yeah.
Can you do us a favor and give us 5 stars on your podcast listening device?
Mm-hmm.
If you've got some project news or other stuff you want to talk about, no spoilers, preferably. But just if you want to talk about stuff, and also, of course, if you are or know anyone in a project, you can get in contact with us.
You can. If you want to spoil The Sopranos for us before we watch She-Hulk episode 4, you can reach us at theprojectpod@gmail.com. All our other social medias are in the link tree in the episode description. If you want to recommend something that we watch, as Lewis said, you can hit us up via any of those social medias.
Please do.
And if you want to tell us what you've been watching and reading, if you want to tell us some project news. I know Lewis has just said all this, but I'm saying it again just to really ram it down your ear holes there. So, thank you for listening. And please do share this with your family and friends.
Yeah, share it around.
We're going around in circles here, aren't we? So I'm going to thank you for listening, and I'm going to say I will see you in the near future.
Yeah. Goodbye.
I don't have anything clever to say here.
Then George set up a nuke.
George goes wild.
Bye.